Welcome to this week's pitching preview, brought to you by Fantasy Baseball Cafe. I'm Jason Gilbo, taking a look at some two-start guys, some streamers, taking a look at Jose Fernandez's first start back, as well as talking about a couple injuries that happened this week. Just kind of quick recap on the week. Chris Sale, another double-digit strikeout. Like I said, a couple guys back: Patrick Corbin, Matt Moore, Jose Fernandez, all back from Tommy John. So good to get those guys back in the rotation for your teams as well as for our viewing pleasure. Looking at some two-start guys this week, your top dogs going are Chris Sale, Sonny Gray, Cueto, Carrasco, Corey Kluber, Dallas Keuchel, all going. Then you even have James Shields and AJ Burnett working in there as well for two starts this week. So it should any of those guys will get you off on the right path and kind of wrap up the first half in good shape. I had Sonny Gray on last week, but he fell a little under the weather and was in the hospital last week. So he's back in line for two starts. He's expected to make those two starts. Unfortunately, they're not as good as last week's. He'll take on the Indians and the Yankees, so a ton of lefty bats. But he's pitched up pretty well this season against lefties, and they have a pretty low line drive rate off against him, so not really worried about it there. Look at some lower-owned guys who you can possibly stream for both starts this week. Chris Heston's going to be a popular one. He's been kind of floating back and forth in the waiver wire from what I've seen. He's got a 3.12 ERA and a 20% strikeout rate. He's facing the Mets, and that's the team he throw the no-hitter against. So he may be a popular pickup just because of that, but he takes on both the Mets and the Phillies at home. So it's pretty easy pickings right there. Both are in the bottom 10 in league offense against right-handed pitching. So easy call for Heston there. He should come out with two quality starts and likely 2 wins looking at his matchups this week. Next guy, we'll just head down the coast. Brett Anderson for the Dodgers. He's been really solid this season. A nice 3 ERA, 3.47 FIP. His ground ball rate is really good, 68%. And to go with that, opposing hitters have just a 12.6 line drive rate. Brett Anderson's been really good this season. He's going to have to be. Bolsingers didn't look good today against the Mets. And Carlos Frias just went down. So they're going to need some help in the back end there. But he'll take on the Phillies, and he will face the Brewers, both at home. Both have been swinging the bat pretty well over the last 2 weeks, especially the Brewers, and the Phillies. But both rank in the bottom against left-handed pitching, so I'm not really too worried about those opponents, especially coming at home. Looking at some one-and-done guys, Jose Quintana has been pitching well of late, but he's going to face Toronto, which ranked number 1 against lefties. It's not a start I'm willing to take him at, especially with how average he's been in some starts, and then he's also been blown up a few times. But then he makes his second start against the Cubs, which looks pretty good there. So I like that matchup for him. And, Chris Sale is going to get the same matchup, but obviously not the same guy there. Second one, Andrew Heaney sits against the Colorado Rockies. It's in Coors. He'll face a ton of tough right-handed bats, and they just got Drew Stubbs back, so he'll face another one. But then he pitches in Seattle, which is a nice start for him. So they're not too hot against lefties. I like that matchup, and Heaney's pitched pretty well this season. He's one of their top prospects, and he's showing why within a few starts. One of the more riskier two starts guys, if you still are hanging on to him with the strikeout upside, is Vincent Velasquez for Houston. Looked really shaky, but if you are struggling for pitching and strikeouts, you probably may have him. I'm probably sitting him against Cleveland. Lefties have hit him pretty well. And then he goes to Tampa, which Tampa's a pretty good offense, but pitching in Tropicana, I like it, and the Rays have gone stagnant a couple times this season against average pitching. So they're definitely, ones that can be tamed. Just plan ahead if you're looking at streamers for the entire week. It's kind of a light week, especially with two start guys. Not a whole lot of guys going, especially kind of in the midweek here too. Monday, you just got Chris Heston making his start against the Mets. Tuesday, Wade Miley takes on the Marlins, and the Marlins just sent down Marcell Ozuna, who's a nice lefty masher that's out of the lineup, and then of course Stanton's out. I can't really see a ton of bats coming from the right side that are gonna hit him hard. Um, so I'm hyping up Miley for a nice start. He's been okay. He's looked better in his last couple starts. Definitely better than Porcello. So I like him as a Tuesday streamer along with Brett Anderson. So a couple lefties there. Ubaldo Jimenez has been pitching really well this season. He may be picked up, but if you're out there in a smaller league, look at him for a possible streamer. And then deeper leagues, take on Charlie Morton. He'll be pitching at home this week against a weak offense. Looking ahead at Thursday, no, there's nobody Thursday. It's a short slate. Not a lot going on anyway. And then Friday, you got Kyle Hendricks. He's pitched a really nice game today against the Marlins. He's been looking pretty sharp. And, he takes on the teams and he's supposed to beat, and he gets the job done. So I like him as a guy facing average to less offenses. Saturday, Anthony DeSclafani for Cincinnati. He's been roughed up a little bit. A little risky, but he's facing the Marlins, and the Marlins lineup is not looking in good shape right now. And then Sunday, you'll have round two of the two-start guys with Chris Heston and Andrew Heaney. So just talk about the second half and what to come. Baseball's getting three top arms back of Jose Fernandez. So if you had him with the DL stash, you're getting him here, and you'll take what he's going to give you for the rest of the season, and of course down the line. And then of course two lefties, Matt Moore and Patrick Corbin, were out on the waiver wire for some time. They may still be in your leagues. Definitely two arms worth picking up. Corbin had a 3.41 ERA in 2013, and he had 23 quality starts. He's definitely an above-average lefty with a great arm, and I like him for the second half. He took on the Rockies. Of course, he threw a little under 90 pitches, looked pretty good. Only struggled with too low and a couple of bats, but that's expected. Matt Moore is another lefty. It's going to take me a little bit. I just picked him up, but it's going to take me a while for him to get off the bench because he faces Houston and Kansas City, two teams that can mash on left-handed pitching. But the guys won 17 games in 2013 with an ERA in the low threes, an 8.8 K through 9. Matt Moore is a special lefty, and if he's out there, I'm definitely looking to grab him. Probably already have, but definitely worth a mention. And definitely a guy who's not picked up is Chris Medlin, on his way back after surgery for the Royals. He'll be back probably post All-Star break, late July. He's got a 2.96 career in his ERA. He's been on and off with the surgeries. That's been his only downside. 7.6 K through 9. He's a top arm. He's a good right-handed pitcher. So I'm definitely looking at him, especially for the Royals. They're going to need a guy with Danny Duffy struggling, Jason Vargas not healthy, Yordano Ventura not healthy. They're going to need some pitching help. They can't rely on Joe Blanton out there. So two arms to really expect better. Carlos Carrasco coming off a near no-hitter. He's got a 3.323 BABIP, which is a little bit over his career average. Another guy with Leicester. Everything is on par with his career averages, and it may not be the SP1 that you're looking for, but he's got a BABIP that's slightly over his career average, but everything else is still the same. His walk rate's lower, his strikeout rate's the same. Of course, he's got to fix, holding runners on. That's been a big problem for him. So it's definitely an issue that leads to a little bit higher ERA. And Garrett Richards is already showing some promise, and Ross is lowered down the strikeout rate or the walk rate. So those four guys, I'm looking at stronger second halves. You can probably maybe go out and look for them. I'm sure definitely you can go out and look for Lester and Richards, as well as even Ross. So breaking down the injury reports, Strauss is the new guy. Just came back through a start and a half and looked really well. So he's been diagnosed with a strained oblique. Good thing for the Nationals here is that it happened a week before the break, so he's going to have that week layoff. And it's just we've seen this happen with pitchers before. Odorizzi, he was out a couple of weeks. but we've seen guys only take 15 days and be back in no time. But it's just going to be one of those things where he's going to be reevaluated, and Strasburg's had some injury problems, so we'll see going forward. And I may have a curse on this one, but Jaime Garcia hit the DL, and it makes sense because I praise him as a solid pickup. He has an ERA in the mid ones so far this season, so of course not a shock. I like him, and he heads to the DL. Groin injury, but I don't think it's anything too serious. He was expected to avoid the DL, but the Cardinals, they got a healthy lead. They just keep winning ball games, and it sounds like more just get him 2 weeks of rest and have him back up and running for the second half. So, taking a look at Jose Fernandez. He made his first start back this week. Took on the Giants and allowed 3 earned over 6 and struck out 6 batters. Even chipped in with some run support. Maybe he's worried Stanton's out, but he knocked a homer. So pretty exciting day for baseball, for Marlins fans. I certainly enjoy watching this guy pitch. 12.4 swing and strike rate over 6 innings. Allowed 7 hits. Allowed a homer to Gregor Blanco. Everything came in the first inning. 2 runs came out of the 3 in the first inning, and then he really settled down from that point on. All 6 hits came off the fastball, but he touched high 90s right off the bat, so he was dialed in. Worked all of his pitches but his slider. Just not sure if that's something the managers decide, if they're going to lean towards throwing that pitch less and less, because we've seen with Matt Harvey him lean a little less on his slider and off-speed stuff. So just something to keep an eye on, but touched upper 90s at leisure. He looked loose as he usually does, worked at a really quick pace, and it's one of my favorite things about pitching those types of pitchers, working at a quick pace. I enjoy watching them, and he looked to get back into a pretty good rhythm. So he'll take on the Reds at home this week, and then he'll have a nice extended rest. And for you lucky owners, he will be ready to go for the second half for you guys. That's going to wrap everything up. We'll be back post All-Star break.